在参加 MSI 之前，其实就觉得各区联赛的最顶尖的队伍都是实力蛮接近的，跟去年比起来，所以也是到了这边之后打了之后才觉得真的是很强。
G2 Esports with the most dominating victory of the MSI 2017 group stage. Take down Flash Wolves to go 3-3.
They're gonna get the damage. They're gonna just in time. 50 minutes in, 15-second death timers. And TSM in the strangest game I have cast. Take the win
in their face. And the LPL's Team WE gain revenge, defeating Team Double.
Ele quer mais um, vem pro triple, vem pro triple, vem pro triple. Não, é triple, é duplo, double kill for Marines.
원래는 저희가 좀 더 잘할 줄 알았는데 생각보다 다른 팀들이 다 잘해가지고 되게 힘들었어요.
Speedo poses 15th kill of the game. SK Telecom after 46 kills remain undefeated at MSI 2017.
SKT is on their own level. All the teams are so close, it can go either way. Any team can win against any team.
Hello again and welcome back to Rio de Janeiro for the 2017 Mid-Season Invitational. The action picks back up here at the Jeunesse Arena, where earlier Team WE loaded into their ready room just a short time ago. Of course, they'll be looking to claim second place when they face off against G2, tied with them in the standings. Expect he's in good spirits, getting a little stretch on before the game, got to limber up. It's time, though, is winding down for all these teams to carve out their place in the top four as we approach the knockout stage of the tournament. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson. Bringing the breakdowns on the analyst desk today are Indiana Frosker and Black, Chris Papa Smithy Smith, and Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler. Day 4 of a crazy group stage. How's everyone holding up?
I mean, I'm hyped, honestly. I'm the Korean analyst, so I get to stand back a little bit, but the parity between the other teams, that's the cool part of this tournament. Who's going to finish top 4? Do any of us really know?
I don't know. That's for you guys to tell me in just a bit. Kobe, how are you holding up? I mean, there's been so many push and pull moments, you know, for all regions.
It's incredibly passionate as well. I mean, the Gigabyte Marines showing up as strong as they have here has really caused most of the teams coming to have an identity crisis, really, and actually have to figure out who they really are in international play, where they're so secure coming from their home regions. Everything's up in the air here.
All right, with 12 games left to play here in Rio, SKT has already secured their spot in next week's bracket.
That said, the Gigabyte Marines threw a spanner in everyone's plans, as Kobe was talking about. We have such a meaty middle of the pack here in the standings.
And Gigabyte Marines spice it up. I think we all have that same opinion of it's taken till an international event in 2017 for there to be this much parity between at least 5 of the regions when it comes to contenders, for these emerging regions to actually be right up there. It's not any sort of gap there. Right up there means that we really do have no idea who will likely be joining SKT in that bracket stage.
And while, you know, the Marines are definitely surprising people and moving upwards, the Flash Wolves is one of the teams that a lot of people had in kind of the soft #2 spot coming into the tournament, but they really do seem to be trending downwards, and a lot of it has to do with this uncontrollable fire that they've got going on up in the top lane. MMD, everybody seems to be focusing him, and it doesn't look like they will stop. They tried to cover it a little bit with Karsa, but if Karsa is camping top lane, then it removes the bite that you're used to with the Wolves, where his adaptability is something you have to watch out for. for early.
And likewise, it doesn't just feel like MMD anymore. You know, Betty being focused out a little bit. His champion pool, it's mostly those utility AD carries, the Varus, the Ashe, and the Jhin. And, you know, we've seen other teams going towards the hyper carries, the Caitlyn's and the Twitch, and he seems really hesitant to pick them up to the same amount of success.
And Papa, that's indicative of, you know, needing growth and time in your career, right? Immediately coming in, when the utility meta is there, Betty performs and he impresses. But here, as the meta evolves, we're starting to see some struggles, and perhaps, you know, as his career develops, he may be able to slot into that more carry-oriented role.
It's actually really interesting to see that he himself gave that interview to Yahoo Esports where he talked about, well, it feels like the meta that got us here doesn't really exist. You know, we touched on the meta before, moving towards that more AD carry, hyper carry focused meta, and also having carry top laners. It feels like neither of those parts, again, MMD and Betty are the two to talk about there, neither of those parts are functioning to allow Flash Wolves to be the top 2 team that we thought they would be.
And while we're on the topic of ADCs, I want to talk about G2 Esports, seeming to find a little bit of security in the standings. It's at 3-3, 1 game ahead of the rest of the pack, tied with WE at the moment. But hey, they have the ability to win through Sven, and yesterday we saw a nice look from them in the early game.
Yeah, that's the big thing. You know, we expect them to be kind of the slow-moving turtle team, at least this tournament, but they decided to turn it on early game. Trick on a Graves performance. I can't expect he'll get the champion again because it was phenomenal yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, pick and ban is something that Youngbuck is really outspoken about. He's super confident in. So I want to see that on display in their really important match that is coming up very soon. The other thing, to your point, Frosker, and I really love Trick not only getting out to early moves, but his willingness to change it up, go for the experience rune, and really actually, you know, surprise people.
I love that innovation. Now we'll see how the table shapes up as we start our day with a rematch between the LPL's Team WE and Europe's G2 Esports. After that, it's TSM against the GPL's Gigabyte Marines, and then the Flash Wolves look to hand SKT their first loss here at MSI. But it's important to note that as we move through the second round robin, you do not want to be dropping head-to-head records against any of these teams since they are so close in the standings.
Which is why there's so much pressure on game 2 and number 1 here. Like, backs to the wall. It's do or die today for a lot of these teams.
The first 2 games have super hype storylines. The only 2 3-3 teams. Feels like 4 wins might soft get you into top 4. 5 is safe, but 4 is getting you there. And the second game, the best of 7 between TSM and the Gigabyte Marines, it finally comes to a hold. And we already had NA versus EU be a hyped understory yesterday. This best of 7, it's hyped as well.
I'm hoping I can breathe a sigh of relief after game 2 today. Until then, I'm going to be very, very stressed out. It's a tight race, though, for seeding in the knockout stage. So I want to hear from you guys who you think is going to make it out of groups, given today what kind of moves those teams will have to make in order to separate from the pack. We want to know from you at home as well, though. So tweet us at LOL Esports and be sure to use the hashtag MSI2017. We'll be checking in throughout the day. But now, your predictions. Let's get them.
Oh, it's so tough. You know, we were talking about this a little bit before the desk.
It feels like we have 2 teams that the 3 of us are committing to, right?
WE and G2.
The 3-3, the teams that we already mentioned that are tied right now for second place, part of the reason is that they're the ones that have been slightly more consistent than the rest of them, right? G2 and WE were a bit more confident in saying that they are going to move forward, and then it really gets difficult when we're trying to pick up the last spot.
All right, so then within that G2-WE matchup, since it's the first one of the day, let's narrow in on that and get your predictions specifically for this matchup. And we already talked about Trick stepping up yesterday. Is he going to get the Graves again? Will he continue to perform? Is he the linchpin to G2's success?
I think so, but not in the way that you're expecting. I don't think we're going to see them get the Graves. I think Team WE are heads up enough in their draft that they are not going to let this guy anywhere near this champion, especially because it's also a massively shared champion pool with Conti. Graves is one of his #1 go-tos. That said, I think what they're going to do is they're going to use Trick as a flex. He's got that cheeky rumble, and I think they're going to use it to help pinch the top lane in 957's champion pool, because when Team WE struggle, it's when you slow that guy down. You think about the TSM Jace game. That was atrocious, and G2 want to replicate that.
Thoughts from the other two?
I mean, last time Trick really got blown out of the water. It was, ironically, the Graves from Condi this time that allowed them to actually pick up the victory there, and Trick's Nunu certainly left a lot to be desired. But it feels like if WE respect the last performance, they look at the most recent performance, respect the champion pool, get rid of the Graves, get rid of the Ivern, force him into his other picks. You're happy to see Trick jump into Lee Sin, at least based on his performances this tournament. I feel like WE, on balance, have been better in the early game. So my prediction would certainly be WE, but just like everything this tournament, the max you're giving a team is 60%. You're not jumping above that because it is so close.
WE here, Kobe, what do you got for me?
Exactly. You want more information to be able to be more confident.
That's what Day 4 is about.
This is specifically one of the ones where we really would like to see champion select first, and why I keep bringing up, Young Buck, he's so confident in this, and they should be expecting people to continue to target Trick. They should definitely be expecting, Graves and Ivern bans pretty much until they prove otherwise that they have other viable options. So with the information heading into it, you want to see what the picks and bans that they're actually going to end up with.
Well, you don't get to, Kobe.
You're the tiebreaker.
Exactly. With that being said, G2's last game of yesterday, as you said, there were a lot of good things that they did show, and that does give you a little bit more confidence, heading right into the first game of the day today.
You feel very on the line here. Can I get a definitive statement? Understanding that there's still that 60%, but do you feel G2, WE? What's your gut telling you?
I'm going to go with G2 on this one.
Okay.
And say that they're going to take it.
All right, the G2, that was your dark horse call. So given WE accepts our analysis and attacks Trick, how does G2 work around that?
I think the fact is that they showed that they can play both styles now. As Kobe was talking about, even though Trick seems like he might need the Graves to play early game, he really doesn't. Just be proactive in the early game. If you want to go back towards the Nunu or the Lee Sin, you have options there. I'd like to see them expand their play style, because WE, they're kind of hit and miss. Are they playing early game? Are they playing late game? It's kind of all over the board. G2 at least have shown that they can win on both different, early game and late game.
All right, well, both teams have their paths to victory. We'll see which one grabs the opportunity by the throat and takes it. One thing left to do is hand it off to the casters, though, to kick off the day. Thank you.